Hey, what's up, yo? It's Noka2 with another comic haul. Um, I'm still trying to bag and board all of these books that I've gotten from the sales from that I've mentioned in my previous videos. First, as always, I want to start by thanking everyone who has taken their time to watch my videos and leave comments. I appreciate it. What started off as an experiment to try to cultivate my son's enthusiasm to become a YouTuber has turned into kind of a fun hobby for me. I can understand why people do the comic haul videos. It's kind of fun to talk about comics, and especially if you don't have a lot of people that collect comics that can relate. So with that, I'm going to just start off. I put these books in front. I've had them for a while. They are my favorite cover artist, Adam Hughes. I like to have something up there for people to see. This is the X-Men Black #1 variant by Adam Hughes, Emma Frost, and then Detective Comics 1000 by Adam Hughes. I didn't buy as many Detective Comics variants as I did of Action Comics 1000. There are a few others I wish I would have picked up, but now they're just priced out of control. A few I just missed. I couldn't get them in time on the online exclusive sales, like the homage cover by Alex Ross, which now goes for quite a bit of money. But I was able to get the Adam Hughes, which is good enough for me for now. I showed in my last video, I think last video or the video before last, Phantom #1. It was the cover. This is either cover A or cover B, but they're not ratio, by Michael Turner. Was trying to have a couple of sets of 1 through 4 or 5, and I have now 3 complete sets of 1 through 5 with issue 1. For some reason, I was missing issue 1, but I got it. And I got those for 30 cents, so 90 cents for 3 copies. Captain Marvel #1 I bought solely for the fact that it's the first issue, volume 3, from 2000, very near mint copy. I got Incredible Hulks only for the cover. It's a nice red cover and near mint, no spine ticks in the red, which are easy to see, by Jock. No real significance. Aquaman #19 for 30 cents. First appearance of King Nereus. Did have some heat back when Aquaman movie came out. Now it's cooled down significantly. I mean, this was going for like $20, and this is now on a cover price or even a dollar book all day long. So I've got probably 3 or 4 copies of this, but for 30 cents, I was going to leave it there. I don't even know why I'm showing this. I just bought that. It was 30 cents. Got this too. Sometimes when I find new comics, fairly new. I mean, this is 2016. I think this may be 17 or 18, but they were $4.99, $3.99 cover price, and I wasn't sure if I didn't have all the Titans Hunt, so I didn't know if I had that issue or not. I don't think I do. And this one, Infinity Wars, had lots of cover variants, and I wasn't sure if I had this one. And so for 30 cents, 60 cents for both of those, I decided I'd go ahead and get those. Talked about how I'm trying to get a run of Haunt, maybe the first 10 to 15 issues, by Robert Kirkman and McFarlane and Greg Capullo. These are 30 cents each. I rebagged these in poly bags because once I got them home and rebagged them, they're not in near mint condition. There's a bunch of spine ticks on both of these, that I couldn't really see in the poly bag initially. But since I didn't have them, I said, I'll get them for 30 cents. But I didn't think they were worthy of a Mylar. This is A-Next #4, the first appearance of American Dream by Shannon not Sharon, Shannon Carter. And this is probably what, a $5 to $10 book. The other significant one is Annex number 7, which I think is the first appearance of Hope Pym as Wasp. And I don't know. Everybody talks about this as being the first appearance of her, but this lady here is called Curse and Blue Streak, and I can't think of what this guy's name is, but I think those are their first appearance too, but I can't confirm that. Superman Limited Series Strength, Book 1. Got this solely for the cover. It's a square bound cardstock comic that was in near mint for 30 cents. I picked that up. I didn't have that. I got this Man Bat number 2, 30 cents, solely because it was in pretty high grade for a Bronze Age comic. If I find Bronze Age comics in high grade for cheap, then I'll pick it up. But this is probably only a $2, $3 book. Great cover by Gemma Parro, who, rest in peace, has passed away. But there's a couple of issues. There's a crease fold there, a couple of spine ticks. Pages are kind of off white, aging, but a solid copy. And I like going through these comics because there's advertisement, a lot of ads in these comics for toys that or models back then. And on the back there was advertising for Evel Knievel toys. He was a stuntman, Daredevil. Had a couple of them. It reminded me of there was an action figure line called I think they were 12-inch action figures too. It was to compete against G.I. Joe, and it was called Jim's. I think it was Jim's Action Pack, and PAC stood for Professional Agents and Criminal Killers, which back then is kind of crazy. They would even call a toy line Criminal Killers, but when I was a kid, I wanted Jim, who was the leader of the group, but my father bought me Steel, which was the guy that had a steel hand. But and I always wanted. I told him I wanted Jim, and he said, we'll get it one day. I never got it, but Steel was probably the cooler character, and I don't know what happened to those. I like going through these Bronze Age comics and looking through the ads because it reminds me of my childhood. And I bought this book again. It was bronze for cover price, 30 cents. It's probably VF because there's a spine tick here and a purple cover. It looks pretty good. There's a crease here you can see. Kind of I'm not sure how that occurs. Looks like maybe somebody was writing on a book on top of it or something. But I didn't bag this yet in Mylar because I wanted to show people something. Back then, there was ads for everything. This was published in 1976. And this was an ad for T-shirts for celebrating the bicentennial anniversary for USA. And this guy here is Todd Bridges. For those of you that don't know, if you're too young, Todd Bridges was in the TV show Different Strokes, and this book was published in 76, and there he is doing an ad. So Different Strokes was a comedy sitcom that had Todd Bridges, Gary Coleman, and Dana Plato, and she was a sister, and the two black kids were adopted by this white rich family. The kids all the actors have died except for Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges is still alive. I think he's like 50 something now, 54, 55. I think he's like a year or two older than me. And and they all, I think Todd Bridges is doing better now, but they all died in poverty. Like Gary Coleman died in poverty on peritoneal dialysis. Dana Plato, the sister in the sitcom, she died from a drug overdose and had lots of run-ins with the law, also in very bad poverty. It's just sad how children actors back then were not looked after better by the the production companies and even for that matter their parents. Got this. This is Justice League America number 31, Adam Hughes cover. Probably second or third best cover that he did on that run. Justice League America was very popular, high seller for DC at the time, so they started Justice League Europe. This is issue number 1. I initially thought it was in high grade, but it's not. It's got some kind of water stain there, and so I just put it back in a poly bag. I rebagged it, but probably not. It wasn't worth the Mylar. I've shown you this comic before. I pick it up. It's kind of a spec book. Every time I see it, for cheap, dollar, probably even less than $1, I buy it. Action Comics 806 is the first appearance of Natasha Irons, who becomes a New Steel. I think she's like the niece of John Irons, who is Steel. Get these 2 books, Justice Machine 1 and 2 by Comico. This was a decent storyline. I like this comic. This was probably one of the few independent comics, along with TMNT, that I collected, and Elementals. This is written by Tony Isabella, who lives not too far from here. He's at a lot of the local Comic-Cons, conventions in this area. He actually has a yard sale in the summer and sells every now and then. It sells his memorabilia. He's the guy that created Black Lightning. But this this is Titan, Divine, Demon, Challenger, who was a leader. I can't remember what these 2 characters were called. But decent story. It's set in the future, too. Got Micronauts number 1 of volume 2, I believe. I kind of bought into the hype. I've stopped buying these books now. But this is the Walmart set, the Art Germ, that had supposedly a variant because of her hair or something like that. But I haven't opened these up. I haven't decided if I should open them up or not, because I don't even know what the other books are that are in this binding. But I've kept it like that for now. I think people are not chasing the Walmarts as much. They were supposed to stop producing them. These giant size. This is giant size 100-page special number 1 of Superman. They had said that they were going to stop making them exclusive to Walmart because the local comic shops were people were complaining, because the intent was for these to be made for new readers, to attract new readers. And what was happening was speculators and local comic shops were purchasing these in volume and buying all the issues and then selling them almost immediately after they were released for a premium, which still happens. But I did buy into the hype initially, and I got all of them, the number 1s, Teen Titans number 1, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman number 1. They're already filed away. But I've since cooled down on buying those. I know there's a couple that are kind of valuable, but if I found them, then I would buy them. But I'm not actively going to Walmart looking for books. I'm not really a big fan of going into Walmart. Here's Tekken number 1. They had a lot of variants for this first issue, regular ratio variants. That's cover D. I know I have cover A. I didn't have this one, and this is cover F. For 30 cents, I decided to pick them up. If I find them cheap, then maybe I'll try to get all the covers of the first issue. Talked about this before. It's kind of a spec book. X-Men number 1 First appearance of X-Man. Number 2, number 3, and number 4, all in near mint. Very sharp, crisp copies. 30 cents each. So I pick this book up anytime I see it for real cheap. And cheap, I mean less than $1. Got another copy of a gold reprint, second printing of Ghost Rider number 5. Very popular comic by Jim Lee. He did the cover. I don't think he did the interior. It's a crossover, I think, of Punisher War Journal also, part 2. But this is the second printing. They didn't make a lot of printings back in this era in the 90s. And so when they did it as a gold cover. They did New Mutants 87, New Warriors, which I showed in my last video, a few others. And so when I find the gold variant cover, I pick those up because, you know, they were definitely lower print run. Got this because it was in high grade. Marvel Tales number 95 reprints Amazing Spider-Man 116. New Avengers number 11, second appearance of Black Order for 30 cents. Bought this comic solely for the cover. I think it's a very beautiful, colorful cover by Dave McKean. It's Sandman Overture, book 6. Don't know anything about this series. It's a kind of a high cards, not really cardstock. It's almost like plasticky cover. So I would expect that this would be prone to get a lot of spine ticks because of the type of material this cover is. But this was in near mint. It was a beautiful cover, and so I picked it up. These next issues I bought solely for the cover. Bill Sienkiewicz, Electro Assassin number 1. And that's in near mint, all white cover. No creases at all, crispy white. Snow White. Number 2. They didn't have 3 and 4, but they had 5, which is a purple cover, which is also in near mint. When I looked at these books, I actually took them to the window so there was better lighting, because none of these books were bagged or boarded, and I was surprised at how clean these comics were and how crisp they were. The corners are sharp. There's no spine ticks. High gloss. So I was really surprised to find them in such, great condition. And for 30 cents, I'm not sure if I would have picked them up if they weren't in such sharp condition. But this is from the Epic line back in '86. Here's another one, number 6, nice cover by Sienkiewicz. Number 7, this was the only one that was not in their mint, and that was because down here there's a corner drop damage on this comic. Probably someone pulled it up in the box and dropped it back down. And then number 8, which is also a beautiful cover by Sienkiewicz. But for 30 cents each, I thought that was a pretty good deal. Nice comics. I'll probably hunt for 3 and 4 to complete the series. Got these. These were just run fillers for me. I'm trying to complete the second volume of... Actually, I guess it'd be the first volume, because the first series was not called Sensational She-Hulk. So this is probably technically the first volume by John Byrne. Number 6, number 8... number 20 is only probably in VF because of some discoloration. I think the comic, I don't think this was bagged, so I think the comic in front of it rubbed off on it and made it discolored. This was in pretty crisp shape. Number 56. I got these 3 Amazing Spider-Mans at that other store that I got on vacation. These were priced at $2 a piece. $3.85, $3.73, and $3.39. Now, back during this era, I knew that my I think I was in college or professional school at the time, and I wasn't buying as many titles. And so I wasn't a big fan of Eric Larson after Todd McFarlane. I think he kind of got spoiled by Todd McFarlane. But so I kind of picked and choose the issues that I bought. And so this particular issue here, I didn't recognize the cover. There was a time at one point where I could look at the cover of the comic and know for sure if I had that comic. But that's time long gone because I have way too many comics. I didn't have this one 385, I don't think, and I know I didn't have this one because I didn't recognize the cover 373. So I paid $2 each for that, and that other shop that I'd gone to that I mentioned in my previous video where I got Batgirl Volume 3 with the James Jean covers, had these all listed for like $6 to $8 a piece. I think 374 is one with Venom on the cover, and he wanted $10 for that, and that's a dollar book everywhere. I got this as I'm trying to complete my run for Monstrous number 13 for 70 cents. And this was a 30-cent book. The Pulse number 11, which is the first appearance of Jessica Jones' baby Daniela. Daniela Cage, right? They're married and have this baby. But it's only on a cover because interiorly Jessica Jones is pregnant all the way through, and at the end I think maybe her water bursts, and probably in issue 12 they rush to the hospital to have the baby. But in this issue here, there is no baby. It's only on the cover. I pick this up anytime I see it as a speculation because I could see this being a TV series easily. If they do it right, it could be done very well. This is Dakota North number 1. This is probably a VF copy because there's some discoloration up at the top, and on the part that should be crispy white, Snow White is kind of faded yellow. But other than that, it's in pretty high grade near mint. There's no spine creases. The back is actually pretty clean. So I probably have 5 or 6 copies of this now. And the last 2 books I'm going to show, I got on vacation at the place where I got the $15 books for $10. That makes it about 70 cents a piece. I bought 2 of their wall books. I didn't have these Adam Hughes covers. This is JSA Classified number 1. They had a sticker on there for $30, and I talked him down to $25. I asked him if he'd take $25, and he said sure. So $25 for that book, which I think is a reasonable price for this comic. It is in near mint. It's crisp corners, sharp corners. There's no spine ticks visible on the front. On the back cover, because I think the back cover is a little bit darker, there are a few spine ticks that don't break cover. They're not bad spine ticks, but they're clearly there. So I think this is probably a near mint minus to a VF plus. I would say it's maybe a 9.0. So for $25, I thought that was reasonable. They had the second print sketch variant by Adam Hughes that had a certified certificate with it that was signed by Adam Hughes, Amanda Connor, and Jim Palmiti, I guess is how you say his name. But they wanted $30 for that, which I'm assuming they would have taken $25. But it had all kinds of spine ticks, and I didn't think the signatures were worth it to me to buy in that condition, so I passed it up. And then I got this Power Girl issue 1 of the 2009 ongoing series, and by Adam Hughes, and I didn't have this cover, and they wanted $25 for this comic, and he agreed to take 20. So I thought that was a reasonable cost, and this is in near mint. There's no spine ticks. It's very crispy. Corners are sharp. It looks great in Mylar. And what's nice is that all their Mylars, all their wall books, sorry, were in Mylars with fullbacks. But I had to rebag them because they put this sticker on the front in big it's some, it must be some kind of special printout they do, because it wasn't handwritten. It was a printout of the price, and it's probably the size of a post-it note, because when it's on the wall you can see the price from, you know, the ground level. And you couldn't get the film from the tape off the Mylar, so I said, I'll just rebag it. But I did cycle the backing boards, the full back. So that's it. That's my haul. That's my next haul, and hope you enjoyed it. And we will catch you later. Peace.